Thanks. So some of us have already joined a little bit earlier, so you have heard some of the geography lesson that was going on. But now we will come to the main topic for today, and therefore, formally, good evening once again, and welcome from Bombay Management Association, everybody who has joined today, and a warm welcome to our speaker for today, Mr. Subodh Shrivastava. It is a privilege really for us to have Mr. Shrivastava here, because if we want to learn about project management, and as he has rightly put it is not enough to know only the concept. You also need to know how to actually go about doing it. And those of us who have run any projects, we know that it is a very complex craft, and therefore we are very happy that he's here. I was just coming in and wondering what I want to take away from here, and I was just in Andheri some time ago, and in Andheri suddenly one east-west bridge has been closed, and there was the perception I have is there was no planning beforehand. And for me, therefore, everything that I learn here, I'm going to apply to that, saying what could have been done better by the civic authorities in planning the closure of a major bridge and its overhaul. So that's a here and now example for all of us. But my distinct pleasure is to first introduce Mr. Subodh Shrivastava. At the age of about, I don't want to give away his age, but at approximately in his early 20s, he joined ONGC. And he superannuated recently as ONGC's executive director, having worked there 1983 to 2021. He's going to speak to us about project management, because he has worked in offshore as well as onshore assets of the company extensively in certain areas, particularly turbo generators, turbo compressors, all associated equipment. And he has had a complete experience of about 38 years in the entire area of upstream with ONGC, rising from the position of an assistant executive engineer right from E1 to E9 level, which is the executive director level. Having done that, along the way, he has also collected his PMP, of course, way back about 11 years ago. And he has his diplomas in management, his degree in mechanical engineering, and he has visited several countries. And I think overall, all of us are going to benefit from the fact that he has this wide and rich experience that he's going to share with us. He has a presentation which he's going to use. So we will hear from him till about 7 o'clock, and then we will open the floor for question and answers from the audience. I would request the audience to already start putting their questions in the chat box, whatever questions you may already have, or at least what are you looking forward to hearing from Mr. Shrivastava. So feel free to use the chat box for that. My request to you would be, if possible, keep your audio off for the duration of the session, so that sometimes there is some noise behind us, and it is very good for all of us to not have that noise. After we start Q&A, of course, we will ask you to unmute, or you can still use the chat box. And as we do that, we will quickly have a short opening comments by Mr. Rajesh Sharma. Sharmaji is our current president at Bombay Management Association. And with quick comments from him, we'll then move on to today's esteemed speaker, Mr. Shrivastava. Sharmaji, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Shripak, for setting the context. And thank you, everyone, and we welcome you to the next session of Friday Fundamental, which has been a series of sessions which we have been conducting, started from pandemic and going on still. More than 275 sessions have already been conducted, and those have been uploaded on video YouTube channel also, wherein speakers from all walks of life, from all geographies, have come and put their thoughts in front of the Bombay Management Association members and participants. Today's topic, which is their project management, just now Shripad mentioned about that east-west bridge. So I am also one of the victims of that. On a daily basis, I have to cross that. So I can relate very well that how the planning would have helped a lot of people, the stress of going from one place to another, and how it could have helped completing the projects on time, because it started somewhere in 2018, and still we are talking about it. And so this has a lot of importance in the whole game. And with Mr. Subodh's experience in this field, I think more than the concepts, it is more the execution part which will be takeaways for people like us, which will be very helpful for all of us. Thank you, Subodhji, for spending time, and I'm giving it back to Shripath.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. I was hoping that Mrs. Chaya Saigal, our past president, would join, because she has very graciously she had actually arranged for the connect with Mr. Shrivastava. I think she has yet to join, but we acknowledge that without her immense help, this would not have happened. And right away, Mr. Shrivastava, I hand it over to you. Your slides is already up. We can see, maybe you can put it in full screen, but we can see the screen already. And by around 7 o'clock, as using your judgment, we can move to Q&A. People will put it in the chat box till then.
Sure.
Over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. So, thank you, Ranman sir, for my introduction, and very good evening to one and all present in the audience. Thank you, Mr. Sharma, for your presence. And I'll just give about myself a few words, and then I will start my presentation. I am basically a mechanical engineer, passed out in 1982 from Vikram University, Engineering College, Jain. And I joined ONGC in 1983. And in 1990, I did my diploma in management from Indira Gandhi Open University. And while working with ONGC, I also happened to get the chance to do my project management certification, PMP certificate, project management professional certification from PMI USA in 2011. And I have worked for different projects for about 5 years in engineering services and 5 years for overhauling of our offshore equipment, high capacity turbines and compressors and pumps, which are used to generate power for our offshore installations and also for pumping oil and gas to Mumbai. So that is my brief background. So I will start my presentation. So I will start with the definition of project. A project is a piece of work often involving many people that is planned and organized carefully. Another definition is any undertaking carried out individually or collaboratively and possibly involving research and design that is carefully planned to achieve a particular aim. And a set of tasks that must be completed in order to arrive at a particular goal or outcome. As per the PMI, Project Management Institute, the definition of project is a bit more elaborative. A project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. And here, temporary doesn't mean that it is a short-term project. It may span for a period of 2 years, 3 years, or even 4 years. The mega projects normally span for more than 2 or 3 years. Even in our ONGC, we are having projects which span for 2 years or 3 years. The temporary nature of project indicates a definite beginning and end. Any project has a definite beginning and end. And when the project is completed, we shift our project team to the next project. So that is why it is called a temporary endeavor. The end is reached when the project objectives have been achieved or when the project is terminated because of its objective will not or cannot be met, or when the need for project does not exist. There are different types of projects. One is traditional projects. These are run sequentially in phases. These phases are basically initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, and closure. This I will discuss in our subsequent slides. Then there are agile projects which are specific to IT companies. They are almost focused, people focused and adaptive, and they are having short turnaround time. Then there are remote projects. Remote project management is usually used by distributed teams that seldom meet in person. Handling freelance contributors is an example of remote project. And then there are agency projects. Agency projects are outsourced to an agency that is likely to have projects with multiple clients. Like in ONGC, we have a concept of awarding projects on LSTK basis. LSTK is lump sum turnkey basis, in which we award the contract to a company who then subsequently outsource it to various vendors who help them to do the fabrication, then transportation to our offshore facilities, and then installing it in the offshore mid-sea. So we have in ONGC this concept of LSTK project. Most of the projects are given on LSTK basis, that is lump sum turnkey basis. 5 phases of project management are initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closure. So as we can see from the graph that how with respect to time and impact of level of interaction, these are happening in a project life cycle. So they may not be sequentially being done, but they overlap each other. As we can see that planning and then initiating, planning and executing, they go right from the starting of the project life cycle. And closure is the last phase of the project. So first phase is initiation. The first phase of project life cycle is called initiation, project initiation. Here a project officially launches. It is named and a broad plan is defined, goals are identified along with the project constraints, risks and stakeholders. Stakeholders are basically any person or organization which are directly involved in the project or they have their say positively or negatively in the project. Like if we are having a consumer project, then all the customers are stakeholders. And during project charter, these risks are also identified and project constraints are also foreseen. Depending on the project, studies may be conducted to identify its feasibility. It is very important. For IT projects, requirements are usually gathered and analyzed during the initiation phase. In ONGC, for our projects, we prepare a feasibility report to launch a project. Once that feasibility report is accepted and we do our calculations for IRR and other things, that what will be the returns on our investments and other things, what is the commercial viability of the project, then only we go for a scheme or a project. So this is initiation phase. Then comes the planning phase. That is the roadmap that will guide teams from creating a project till its project execution and closure project phases. They are all covered in project planning. The project plan is crucial during project execution till closing of the project, and the objectives and how to do it and what does what, who does what are basically done in planning. Planning is very important from the point of view that more the time we give for planning, less will be the surprises during its execution. As Mr. Ranade and Mr. Sharma was telling right now that they had a problem in this Andheri East-West bridge, which is right now going on. And if proper planning was done, then this could have been avoided. So planning is very important. And after the planning is done, a project team is formed, which consists of a project manager, project coordinator, and project engineers, along with associated members of other disciplines like finance and procurement section, that is material management section. So a project team is defined during planning phase, and project manager is the key person for executing the project, and he is the responsible person for completion of the project, successful completion of the project, and he is the person who deals with project coordinator, contractor, and he looks after day-to-day monitoring of the project, and he foresees the upcoming activities of the project, and he is responsible for reporting it to the management. So project manager is the key person of any project. Then comes execution. Once we award a project to a contractor, then we start with a kickoff meeting. We arrange a kickoff meeting wherein the contractor submits us a planning package, wherein he gives us complete details of milestone activities of the project. So for each milestones, they are defined, and what will be the schedule of achieving those milestones is determined, is given in the planning package. So the execution phase is typically the longest phase, and takes up the biggest allocation of resources as the actual implementation of the project is done. At this point, controlling the project's resources, monitoring the project's progress, and maintaining clear communication among all stakeholders become crucial. So execution is the main part which consumes most of its time, most of the time of the project, and also most of the resources of the project, whether it is financial or it is procurement, other things. So execution is the most important phase of any project life cycle. Next thing, monitoring and controlling. Monitoring and controlling is done to compare the project progress as compared to the planned progress. So monitoring and controlling, we will come to in the subsequent slide. I will explain. There are many tools to monitor and control the project, and if there is any variance with respect to the planned project phase, then what are the catch-up plans to bring it back on track so that it is not going beyond the schedule. Monitoring the project's actual performances compared with the planned performance, and appropriate action is taken if there is a variance in the project plan. Then closure. Finally, when the product is achieved, our outcome is achieved, then project is closed when it is achieved its goals and product is ready for release and delivery to the client. Also known as follow-up phase. Here the project manager and the team come together to discuss the project events and insights in a closing meeting. They will discuss the lessons learned. This is very important. All the lessons we have learned in the project life cycle, they are documented for future actions. Identify strengths and opportunities for improvement and document them along with other project data and future reference. So these are the 5 phases of any project, and during the project life cycle, closure is also very important for subsequent projects. Project consists of 3 main components, that is cost, schedule, and scope. Any change in any of the 3 components will affect the other 2. If scope is changed, then its cost will also change. It may overshoot its time also. Similarly, if it is delayed, then it will impact the cost of the project, budget of the project, and if there is a change in the scope, then we lead to some change orders. We should always try to avoid changes in scope, because once we freeze the scope during our planning phase, we should stick to it, because any change in scope leads to change orders, and it is very difficult to settle change orders because it has a financial impact on the project cost. And in our organization, we have faced many problems with respect to change orders. Once we go for when we go for execution of the project, we come across many activities which we are not planned, and each activity then contractor asks for extra cost, and to settle those change orders may take hell of a time. Sometimes project is handed over to the client, and even then the change orders are not settled. So once unless change orders are settled, the project cannot be closed. So we should be very careful while freezing our scope, so that there is no variance in the scope later on. There are 9 project management knowledge areas. One is integration management. Second is scope management, then time management, cost management, quality management, human resource management, communication management, risk management, procurement management, and finally, safety management. So we will go in details one by one these areas. Project integration management is basically integration of all the 5 phases of the project. First is project charter, or we call it initiation, the process of developing a document that formally authorizes a project and documenting initial requirements that satisfy the stakeholders' needs and expectations. Then project management plan, which is a planning phase, the process of documenting the actions necessary to define, prepare, integrate, and coordinate all subsidiary plans. Then project execution, the process of performing the work defined in the project management plan to achieve project's objectives. Then monitoring and controlling project, the process of tracking, reviewing and regulating progress to meet the performance objectives defined in the project management plan. Then integrated change control. As I told you, if there is a change in the scope, then we lead to change orders. The process of reviewing all change requests which come during project phase, execution phase, then approving these changes. Whenever there is a change in the scope, the project manager is the first person to get those changes. Then he puts it up to the management for approving those changes, managing those changes and their effect on deliverables, its cost. We have to come with the contractor that what will be the change in the cost of this thing. It should be approved by the higher management, and then this change order should be settled. And finally, the closure, the process of finalizing all activities across all the project management process groups to formally complete the project. So this all comes under project integration management. So this is basically integration of all 5 phases of the project. The next one is project cost management. Project cost management, as I told you that during kickoff meeting, the contractor is not supposed to, but he is required to submit a planning package wherein he defines what will be the milestones of the project. And after achieving each milestone, he submits his invoice for payment so that he gets money for further procurements and further fabrications and further activities of the project. Then those invoices are received by project team, and project manager certifies all those invoices, and then it is sent to the finance for payment. And if there is any variance in the cost as compared to the planning package, so those costs are adjusted and payments are made based on each milestone achieved. And then there is a cash flow forecast. This is very important. If our project spans for a period of 2 or 3 years, we don't need to block the total money of the project at once. We should forecast the milestones coming up in next 2 to 3 months, and only that much amount of money is blocked for payments. So this is very important for financial point of view, and our finance manager always asks project manager to give cash flow forecast, that what are the upcoming milestones for which they have to make the payments in the coming subsequent months. And project manager also is the person who decides what are the upcoming activities in the next 2 to 3 months and what milestones are likely to be achieved in next 2 to 3 months. Then project time management. Well, in time management, there are many factors like planning package. Planning package gives us the complete schedule of the project activities. Then CPM per diagrams are submitted. Then continuous monitoring for monitoring of the project. There are many softwares available nowadays to monitor progress of the project. Like Primavera we are using, wherein we give the input to the software and we get the complete progress of the project, that till now what percentage of the project has been achieved. Similarly, S curves are there with respect to time and progress of the project. We see where are we lying at present, whether we are going ahead of time or we are behind the schedule. Then complete schedule, then incentive for early completion. If we are able to complete the project ahead of time, then there should be incentive to the contractor so that he puts more resources in the project and completes it before time. We also have some incentive clauses in our bids, that if you complete the project ahead of time and we are able to monetize our assets before time, then we give certain incentives, some percentage, 2 or 3% of the total project cost, because these are very high value projects. So 2 or 3% amounts a great value. Then if there are delays in the project, then what corrective actions we need to take to bring the project back on track. So that also is covered under time management. Then liquidity damages, if the project is delayed over beyond the schedule, then contractor is penalized and liquidity damages are levied on the contractor. Then force majeure clause, if there is an act of God, whether it is cyclone, whether it is earthquake or any other this thing, then nobody is responsible, neither company nor contractor is responsible for this. So that comes under force majeure. The next comes project scope management. Change of scope prior to invitation bids. As I told you, before inviting the bids, if scope is changing, there is no issue. We can change our cost and put it up in the bid, so that once the contractor's price is fixed. As I told you that we are having LSTK contracts where the price is fixed up at the beginning, that we are going to pay you this much only for the complete project. And if there are delays due to contractor side, then he has to bear all the financial losses for that. So any change in scope prior to invitation of bid is always welcome, and it is taken care of in the contract price. Then change of scope after award resulting in change orders. As I told you, change orders are very difficult task to handle, and it requires a lot of time and manpower to settle a change order. And measures to minimize scope changes. Scope management, we should freeze the scope during planning phase itself, and any change in the scope post award of the contract is not acceptable, is not welcome, at least acceptable, because sometimes there are cases where it is inevitable. Scope change is inevitable, then we have to go for change order. But we should always have measures to minimize scope changes. Then coming to next is quality planning. So for quality planning, for procurement purposes, we should have a list, suggested vendor list, so that quality of the product is maintained. Suggested vendor list is the list of vendors who qualifies to the quality of the procurement, and that ensures that if we purchase this item from this particular vendor, he will give us quality product only. So in our cases, we always go for suggested vendor list. We give the list to the contractor that you do all the procurement from these vendors only. There are many vendors in our list, and we give it to the contractor. Then quality assurance. We have third-party inspections and certification agencies engaged for the project. These ensure that the contractor is doing the job as per the quality we have defined in our bid. And then quality control. Approved project quality control plans are in place, and checks are there. Midterm checks are there. Our quality engineers and third-party inspectors go to the yard of the contractor where fabrication is going on for that particular platform, and they check that all the PQC are being maintained or not. PQC is pre-qualified criteria, and sometimes this do happen that the contractor is not able to get the procurement from the suggested vendor list, and he wants to take it from some other vendor. Then we again ask the contractor to submit the PQC of the vendor, new vendor. PQC is pre-qualified criteria. He submits the experience of the vendor and his past experience where he has supplied earlier. Then only we approve that yes, it can be deviated from our suggested vendor list. He can procure the material from other sources also. So that way quality is maintained, and all the items of the project. Then human resource management. As I told you that project team is responsible for carrying out the project successfully. So work setup will with well-defined roles and responsibilities. That is one requirement. And project team composition. As I told you, we are having one project manager. Under him, there is one project coordinator who deals with the contractor on daily basis. Then engineering coordinator, we have our own design team and execution team. So, and interactions with design team and execution team takes place on a daily basis. And then other members from other disciplines like MM and finance. Then responsibility matrix should be defined, wherein clear roles, who does what, and then responsibility, who decides what, they should be in place. So when the project is going off track, then contractor is required to increase his resources, whether it is manpower or it is items. Then communication management. Communication is one of the key factors which controls the information flow from the contractor to project coordinator, then to project manager and to higher management. And to monitor the project, we have to communicate with the contractor on daily basis. So when execution is going on, then daily site meetings are arranged. Then weekly and monthly review meetings are there, which are chaired by project manager. Daily site meetings are done by project coordinator. Weekly, monthly review meetings and management review meetings are done by project manager at project manager level, or even at a higher level. Management review meeting is done even at the level of head of the section, chief of our services. Then subject specific meeting. Suppose there is a change order coming up, then that is brought to the notice of the project manager. He then holds a meeting. What is the scope change and how to deal with it? Or if there is any hurdle in the execution of the project, then also project manager looks at it. Then progress reporting. As I told you, contractor is required to submit daily progress report, then weekly progress report, then monthly progress report, and also S-curves of at every month, so that we can know the deviation in the planned progress and actual progress. So these reports are required to be submitted on daily, weekly, and monthly basis. So we monitor the progress of the project continuously. Then project procurement management. As I told you that there are hundreds of purchase orders which a contractor places onto different vendors. For example, in our offshore platform, there are many equipment. So which motor to be purchased from which vendor, which pump to be purchased from which vendor, different type of pumps are there, different type of, then there are separators, then there are static vessels. So for that, for all those items, we have suggested vendor list that contractor should purchase it from those vendors only. So the process of documenting project purchasing decisions, specifying the approach and identifying potential sellers. So potential sellers, we give them the suggested vendor list that you purchase these items from these vendors only. Don't go beyond that to maintain the quality of the items. Then process of obtaining seller responses, selecting a seller and awarding contract. Once contractor says that I have chosen this vendor from your suggested vendor list, then the contractor is required to submit PS, that is called purchase specifications. So those purchase specifications gives us total details of the items, whether they are meeting our design requirements or not. Our design team then approves that yes, this purchase or purchase specification PS is okay. Once we give him go ahead, okay, this PS is clear from our side, he then places order to the vendor to and procure that material from that vendor. Then comes administer procurement, the process of managing procurement, relationships, monitoring contract performance, and corrections as needed. So contractors can also have give different types of contracts to the vendors, fixed price contract, or because he has to foresee that total cost of the project and what are the his limitations of the cost, and accordingly he places POs to different vendors. He also chooses that within the suggested vendor list, who is the vendor who can supply it at a lesser cost, keeping the quality of the item same. And then close procurement, the process of completing each project procurement. So procurement is very, very important from quality point of view, because unless we have checks on procurement that is being done by the contractor, we cannot maintain the quality of the product. Then project risk management. The project manager should always be in a position to assess the risk involved in each activity of the project. So first of all, contractor is asked to submit insurance policies. Insurance policies is one of the major way to cover our risks. For example, in our projects, contractor hires vessels which go to the offshore for installing and commissioning of the project. So that vessel should be insured against all possible risks. Then its manpower should be insured. So for that, we take insurance policies from the contractor, that all the insurances should be in place so that in case of any mishap, we are covered under insurance and we are not losing anything. Then risk analysis is carried out using methods such as HAZOP, HAZID, and QRA. HAZOP is hazardous operations. We conduct workshops with contractors to discuss that what are the hazardous operations which may risk our platform. Then HAZID, hazard identification, and then QRA, that is qualitative risk analysis. So all these things are covered under risk management. Then risk workshops are arranged to identify project risk, action proposed to mitigate the risk, and final outcome. For monthly or even quarterly, we arrange risk workshops, and then we discuss the existing project activities which are going on and what are the risks involved in that, and what are the measures being taken to mitigate those risks. They all are discussed and documented, and actions are taken according to that. Then it comes project safety management. As we know, safety is of paramount importance for all the projects. Safe operations during all project activities are ensured through safety policy of contractor and company. Once we award a project to any contractors, he is required to submit his safety manual. And also, we as company also have our safety manuals, and both the manuals should match with each other. And if there is a deviation in their safety policy and our safety policy, then contractor is required to submit bridging documents so that all the operations during the entire project life cycles are done safely. So this is very important, and hence a dedicated safety officer both from project side and from contractor side are in place throughout the project, so that he sees that all the operations are being done as per safety manuals of the contractor and of the company. And contractor should strictly follow the safety procedures as laid down in the safety chapter of the contract. The contract awarded has a separate safety chapter that you should adhere to these safety procedures while you are executing the project. Then safety audits are performed periodically. Our safety team visits yards of the contractor where fabrication is going on, and also while installation and commissioning is going on in offshore. So that time safety audit team is going there and checking the vessel also, that vessel is complying with all the safety norms or not, and in yard all the activities are being done safely or not. The manpower of the yard, whether they are having safety gears available with them or not, whether they are following the safety instructions of the project manager of the contractor. So like we have our project team, contractor also have his own project team. They are also having project manager, project coordinator, project engineers, and safety officer to coordinate all the activities which are being carried out in a yard or while installation and commissioning. All measures related to environment protection, pollution, and related statutory provisions as specified in the contract are ensured for company. We should ensure that all the environmental protection, pollution, these are avoided at all stages, and statutory provisions are adhered to. After completion of the project, safety check of the facilities are carried out by a multidisciplinary team. So safety officer's responsibility is to ensure that throughout the project life cycle, these activities are done safely, and there is no loss to either any of the equipment or to the manpower. All the hoisting devices should be checked regularly for their load testing capacity. So there are many checks which our safety team and contractor safety team together go and check all these things. And then safe operations of the equipment installed, they are also checked before handing over of the project is completed. So I was giving more emphasis on our projects which are spanning over a period of 2 or 3 years, because once we award a project to a contractor, he is required to initially, during kickoff meeting, he submits the planning package and then he starts activities in his yard. Fabrication of the platform is done in his yard, then it is transported to offshore, and in offshore he then brings vessels who lift the thousands of tons of jacket which goes inside the sea and seabed, and then topside facilities or decks which are installed at the top of it. So this whole process of one commissioning or installation commissioning of one platform takes 2 to 3 years time. Since award till its handing over, it takes 2 to 3 years time. So our projects are of mega value projects. And
thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. We already have several questions from the audience.
Yeah.
I will start from the latest one.
Yeah.
Which is from Ms. Ursula Thakkar. She's asking that, in your experience, sir, what has been the biggest challenge in effective project delivery? And what is the best practice you can share on overcoming whatever it is that is the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge is freezing the scope. Once the scope is freezed, and second is getting the right contractor for this, because sometimes we have to see their financial capabilities also, that he will be able to sustain the complete the project over this much span of time. So selecting the contractor for the project and minimum change orders during the project, completing it in time, these three are the main criteria of our projects. As I told you, scope, cost, and schedule. These are the three main criteria for completing any project successfully.
Ms. Thakkar, I hope that answers your question. All of you who have asked questions, and if anybody else is asking further questions, you can unmute and ask any follow-up question if you want, in case you have.
I can tell you, if the project is successful when it is completed on time or before time, and it is executed within the budget, and its objectives are met, and it is acceptable to the consumer or the customer. If it is these criteria are met, then project is called a successful project.
Right. Right. Thank you, sir. There is a question from Mr. Karan Kapoor. He's, this is regarding, preparing a sort of backup during execution. So his exact question is, he's saying that planning is crucial. He was asking this question when you were explaining planning in the early part. But is it more important during the execution itself, a backup is prepared? So Mr. Kapoor, if you want, you can also explain your question again if you want.
Yeah.
If you want to come online.
Yeah, sure, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So firstly, sir, the session was very elaborative. It gave us good insight about project management. The only concern I have is whenever you have a plan and picture, okay, to go ahead with a project, there's always a chance that the project might fail during the execution part. Okay.
Yeah.
So while executing itself, at that stage, can we have like 1 or 2 backups? Would that be a possibility?
Actually, frankly speaking, in LSTK contracts, it is not possible to have a backup of it.
Right.
We did face a few projects, in few of the projects, some of the projects, the contractor itself was not financially capable of continuing with the project. So we had to go for other alternatives. Like, as I told you, in our projects, he is supposed to do the fabrication in his yard and then take it to the offshore for installation and commissioning. So what happened, while fabrication was going on, he could not complete it because of his financial constraints. So we had to go for alternative contractor who took over from him and completed the project. So sometimes we have to break it up into 2 pieces. Fabrication is done by some other contractor, and then installation and commissioning is done by other contractor. So that backup, we cannot keep ourselves ready for that, but then project is delayed because of this. If during installation or even during fabrication, if a contractor fails to deliver or he is not able to continue with the project, then we go for alternatives also. As I told you, we have faced 1 or 2 in 1 of 2 projects when he was financially bankrupt. So we had to go for other alternatives as well.
All right, got you, sir. Sir, actually, I wanted to ask you, since we are already working on basically a project which has been given to us about setting up a commercial building, okay?
Yeah.
We have reached the point of basically implementing whatever plans we have made, but now we are stuck at the point wherein we have to monitor and review the plan. So can you just help me out on that? As in, can you just throw some light? What exactly needs to be done when you monitor or review?
For monitoring of the project, one should have the S-curves in place. So
Okay.
S-curves gives us an idea how ahead or how behind the schedule we are going at present. So if we are going behind the schedule, then we should have catch-up plans in place so that we, by additional resources, deputing many additional resources, we are able to catch up the schedule again. So that should be in place.
Okay.
Project manager should be able to foresee what are the constraints because of which it is going behind the schedule. So he should foresee it and take necessary action and ask contractor to give catch-up plans to bring it back on the track.
Okay. All right. Got it, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karan. Mr. Shrivastava, I'm happy to say that today we are also joined by several, not just members of Bombay Management Association, but also members of All India Management Association. We also have several MBA students who are also here to listen to you. I know that you like to teach, and so that's why I thought I'll mention that to you. Just moving on to a very related question to what Mr. Kapoor asked, which is the question from Mr. Harish Bhinde. He's saying, can you throw some light on what are the project monitoring software available? So maybe you can speak out project monitoring software and how they are used both.
Yeah, I'm aware of one of the project monitoring software, that is Primavera. So that we were also using in our organization. Primavera is one of them. Then there are other softwares available, which I think Microsoft, there is one more software. I will let you know.
Microsoft has a Microsoft projects, which is also like Primavera.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you can mail me, then I will give you the names of the different softwares. Primavera is one of them which we were using.
And when you are using it, is for yours are very large and complex projects,
Yes.
right? So Primavera is quite a complex software.
Yeah.
And Mr. Mohammad Rehan has shared the name of ASANA as a software for project management. He has mentioned that in the chat box for everyone. There is a question also from Mr. Harish Bende, who had asked the project monitoring software question. That question is regarding cost accounting of the insurance costs, where he's wondering how the cost of insurance is treated. Is it treated as a separate cost head within the project cost, or is it just allocated vendor wise?
No. This is when we have our breakdown structure, we take care of the insurance cost also. So it is included in the lump sum turnkey cost. LSTK cost includes everything, including insurance cost.
Okay. Mr. Bende, do you have any other clarification you need around this question? You can, if you want, you can unmute and ask.
Yeah, thanks for the answer. I think that satisfies the query. Thank you.
Okay. There is one question from Mr. Mohammad Rehan, who was the same person who had kindly shared the name of the one more project management software. And sir, he is requesting you, could you please suggest where the PMP course can be done? Can you any reputed training institutions or trainers? And is it along with placement?
Yeah.
Can you just throw some light on this area?
Yeah, you can send me a mail and I will give you the contact persons. Actually, Project Management Institute is having many chapters in India. Mumbai has got a chapter, then Bangalore, Hyderabad, Cochin, there are Delhi. There are many chapters in India by Project Management Institute. So you can always approach them. I will give the contact number or email ID of them. I can even give the head of Mumbai chapter contact number. You can contact them. There is a program run by certified project management professionals, PMPs, who give lectures, who takes lectures to familiarize you with the project management. This thing, there is a book, the Project Management Body of Knowledge, PMBOK. So they teach us, they take sessions for 7 days. There is a 7 days schedule. They take the lessons, sessions on those 7 days, and then after that, there is an exam of PMP. So once you clear that exam, so then you become a certified project management professional. So you have to clear that exam. So I will give you the contact person in Mumbai. You can contact him and they will help you how to go ahead for this project management course.
Right. So for the moment, we'll just put your email address in the chat box for people to write to you. And if people write to us at BMA, we can always coordinate for their answers to their queries as well.
I can give the email ID and contact number so that they will be guided properly how to get this done.
Yeah, we will do that. There are a couple of additional questions. One question is that we always say that at the end of the day, it is about people. And so, in your experience, what is the sort of organization culture or values that are best suited for a successful project management approach?
So project management, one should have a right combination of project teams and interactions between your project team and contractors project team, coordination between those and synergy between the two project teams will avoid many of the conflicts which arise during project execution. So if there is good synergy between the two teams, it is very easy to get the project through. So that is,
we have one. Please go ahead.
Yeah, and there should be least distortion of the communication. Communication is very effective tool in project management. and there should not be any distortion of communication, because what you are expecting from the contractor should be known to him in the right perspective. If you are telling him something and he is understanding something else, then it creates a lot of problem during execution. So synergy is one of the most important factor which both sides project teams should have.
Thank you very much, sir. One question, and this question is from my side. This is based on what you were explaining earlier to an earlier participant. You were saying that it is not always possible to do a backup, right? I think Mr. Karan Kapoor had asked regarding the backup approach. I have a further question on the same area. That is, when I was, assisting some of the Tata Group companies on EPC and infrastructure, we found that many a times one of the packages out of the entire project that came directly as a turnkey package from a vendor with some sort of unique process technology. So there was no question of replacing. Either the further customer or asset owner, they had mandated this process technology in some cases, or in some cases, this was the only process technology that could create the required performance of the facility. So what is your view of, how is the vendor relationship with such a unique process tech vendor to be managed compared to other vendors?
No, as I told you, that vendors should be selected very carefully, and while selecting the vendor, we should define our criteria. We call it PQC, pre-qualification criteria. That what is his experience, to whom he has earlier supplied such products, and what are the satisfaction level of other customers to whom he has supplied these products. So that is very important from getting a quality product from any of the vendors. Because if quality of the product purchased from any vendor, if it goes down, it will spoil the our final product. So each component of the product should be matching with the quality specified in our bid.
So just a note to everybody who's in the audience today, we have put Mr. Shrivastava's email address as well as his contact number in the chat box. So please pick it up from there. Please feel free to write to him. And he has very graciously promised that he is going to help us with some of the queries that have come in. So that is already there in the chat box. There's one last question that we have. We are at about 7:10 already. We have one last question, and Mr. Shrivastava, you have had a very long, rich experience across all levels of project management, and we have always found that there is a lot of challenging work and there is a joy of success. So, can you share with us any personal organizational story where you had a particularly difficult, challenging project situation, and we can all learn from your success there?
Yeah, I have faced many challenges. One of them was when I was looking after overhauling of our offshore equipment, turbines. So what happened? One of the vendor was removed from the list. Means one of the overhauling center, a major company, was who was dealing with not only with our company, with other companies also. So he was debarred from participating in any of the contract, and even all the activities, overhauling activities were also seized. So we faced a lot of challenge during that time because we were not able to send our equipment for overhauling. So that was one of the major challenge which I faced, and we somehow managed, and our equipment which was supposed to be overhauled after say 25,000 hours of running, we even went to 30,000 hours of running without overhauling. That was the situation because there was no other alternative. So that was the challenging situation which I faced at that time.
Great. We have one question that has just come up from Mr. Karan Kapoor again. Please go ahead, Karan.
All right, thank you, sir. So, sir, I just wanted to ask you, when you talk about managing time for a project, okay,
Yeah.
how useful are Gantt charts in reference to that?
Yeah, Gantt chart are very, very important. Uh, they are also a part of our CPM part diagrams.
Right.
So they are equally important. Gantt chart are also equally important. But once we have our ASCAs in place,
Yeah.
so that takes care of Gantt chart also.
Right. No, because the thing is, at times, while preparation of Gantt charts, there is a miscommunication or a gap in
Yeah.
reference to like one project being completed and then the second project starting and ending at a different stage altogether. So
Okay.
that possibilities or that mishaps might happen. But
Yeah.
do you feel like any other software could solve that problem?
Well, I am not well aware of such a situation. But if I am able to get all the details of it, then I may be able to
Okay.
answer your query. You can contact me separately.
Sure, sir. Definitely.
Do it and then suggest what to do.
Sure, sir. I will drop an email to you. I certainly have such kind of a scenario. So yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Kapoor, and maybe you can also the live problem that you seem to be handling. You can also look at whether you have some some activities which have some slack. I think Mr. Shrivastava indirectly commented on it when he spoke about project time management. Everything is not on your
Yeah.
critical path, and
Yeah. Exactly.
so you may take the critical chain or critical path approach, but you have to be aware that only some parts of the project are critical. So just a point there.
Thank you so much, sir. Sure.
Yeah. Anybody else? I see there are more than 50 of us here. It's a mix of MBA students, delegates from IMA, delegates from Bombay Management Association. So anybody who would like to just unmute and ask a question, you can now go ahead. We still have a few minutes. Mr. Binde has given comments. He has given a compliment, Mr. Shrivastava, in the chat box, where he's saying that's a very well-structured presentation, very useful subject. He thanks BMA, but on behalf of BMA, we should thank Mr. Shrivastava, but we'll come to that more formally in a minute. Before that, the floor is open. Anybody would like to directly unmute and ask a question, please go ahead.
No.
So
Anybody?
from my
Okay.
side,
Yeah.
my sincere thanks to Mr. Sharma, R.K. Sharma, Mr. Ranade, and all the team of BMA for giving me this opportunity to present my presentation on project management. And I am also thankful to the participants who spared their valuable time to attend this session. I hope I have replied all the questions, and which I have not been able to reply, I will definitely respond to your mails, which I will receive. Once again, thank you very much, all the executives of BMA, and also Paul Madam, who has been there since beginning, and she has excellently coordinated this session. So I am thankful to her as well.
Thank you, sir.
So it remains to me to, on behalf of Bombay Management Association, once again, of course, thanks to everyone who has joined and stayed on. We notice everybody has stayed on. They have clearly found the subject very important and interesting. So thanks to everyone who has come here today.
One more thing I would say that I was initially I was not aware of the target audience, that who all are attending the program. So my presentation was very basic in nature. So there can be sessions on each of the knowledge areas, like communication management itself is a big this thing. Time management is one, scope management is one, procurement management. So we can take one session each on each type of process. So if it is possible, I can take another session with each process also.
Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate this is a very gracious offer from you. I also want to, in addition to thanking you, I also want to thank in absentia Ms. Chaya Saigal, past President BMA, who made it possible for us to connect and for us to have your presence here today. So thanks to her. and to our other past presidents, and Mr. Rajesh Sharma, who unfortunately just left. He had to leave for another engagement, but I would be very happy to acknowledge that he came in at this time.
Madam, for giving me this opportunity.
And last but not the least, you already mentioned Ms. Indrila Paul, who's from our secretariat team. So Indrila, a great job done. This always, we do the easy part of speaking, and Indrila and her colleagues do the difficult part of actually organizing all these things. So thank you for that. And
thank you,
good
sir,
evening
on behalf
everyone.
of BMA Secretariat. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
We have recorded this. It will come up on the YouTube channel with an intentional delay. In the meantime, all of you have the email address and the contact number of Mr. Shrivastava. Feel free to write to him, or you can also write to us if there is any query you want us to pass on to him. And Mr. Shrivastava, thank you for your gracious offer that there could be more we can do together with BMA. And with this, I wish all of you a very good evening, the rest of the day, whatever dinner that you are going to. I'm looking forward to my dinner. So we will virtually all be having our dinner together in our respective homes. Thank you, everyone, once again.
Thank you so much, sir. And I heartily thank to Subodh, sir. We learned so many things, and definitely I'm going to contact you very soon, as I already put an email to you, sir, awaiting for your reward. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ending the meeting for all.